Florida State has lined up an official visit with one of the best pass rushers and overall athletes in the state of Florida.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst and writer. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles with me. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Today's show is going to discuss a handful of recruits, some recruiting news, and overall thoughts on how this next month or so is going to play out. As we get to the edge of March, remember, this is the dead period now, but March, things open back up, unofficial visits, and things are going to get wild in recruiting. But Florida State does have some good news, and I'm going to start off with that. Izayia Williams out of Tavares High School, just outside Orlando, is going to be taking a visit to Florida State. Bama, Texas, Oklahoma, you name it, everybody's offered the young man. Great kid. He's a one-time Florida State commitment before backing off and looking at his options. But I think that Florida State right now sits in a pretty good spot. I think that they're going to be one of the final two or three, but this will be a long, drawn-out recruitment. He doesn't want to commit again without it being over with, and I agree with that. I hope that Izayia sticks to that plan, and whether it's a summer commitment or in the fall, that's fine. Just pick one more school, be done with your recruitment, and head off to the college ranks. So who is he? What does he do? 6'3", 215, natural pass rusher. He was at Under Armour this past Sunday, and quite frankly, he was one of the best athletes there, if not the best overall. He's a 4'5", 4'6" kid at 215 pounds. He can really hit, and he just has a twitch to him that most guys don't. At his size, especially with his length, Izayia can be used in many different ways, but the easiest and most logical is that he's going to be either a stand-up rusher in a 3-4 defense, similar to what the Noles run, or a 3-3-5, or he's going to be a hand-in-the-dirt weak side defensive end in a 4-3. Those are the ones that I see most likely. There'll be some discussion points with him playing linebacker, but he's most comfortable attacking downhill, not reading much, more than one or two things, and just attacking the football and chasing the football. That's what he's best at. He can do other things, but I prefer players that maximize their skills, and his change of direction and athleticism make him a really good candidate to do that. Now, with that in mind, I'm sure there'll be a lot of different pitches for him to play different spots, but that's what I think should happen for him in college, and I've seen him several times, Under Armour included. Now the question is, where is that school going to be? So with that in mind, a few things about Izayya's recruitment. We're not talking about just a here or there kind of situation. He's got Georgia, he's got Penn State, Florida, Bama, and Florida State, Colorado. I know Texas is involved. They're probably going to get a visit of some kind unofficially. So this is an elite list of schools, and he's a player that you're going to have to kind of wait it out for. I don't think there's any particular leader, although Florida State, if I had to pick one, would be the one that I would go with based on what I've been told here recently on the inside information side of things. Multiple people think Florida State's done a really good job with him. And it's kind of a fit for what I've heard about Florida State staff of late. They really do a good job. Maybe that's not true, and maybe it's a day-to-day thing, which wouldn't be shocking with the 17-year-old. But Izayia, again, he's a good kid. I think he'll make the best decision for him when he's ready. Right now, it doesn't matter anyway if Florida State does or does not lead. There is a long way to go because this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint. With that, there are a few other kids that I really want to talk about today, and not that Izayia is not a great player, but there's plenty of other ones to discuss. Florida State has done a lot to get kids lined up for official visits, getting kids set up with commitments, etc., but that doesn't mean other schools aren't coming after them. Here's an example of that. Darrell Bell is committed. He's from Barbara Goldman High School down in the Miami area. Alabama is going to get him on campus. He's a defensive back that's been committed for quite a while. But Alabama, I am told, is going to be a major player there. They're going to get an official visit. Likewise, Maycock, the linebacker out of Miami Central, he's going to visit Alabama as well. He just committed to Florida State. Derek Gibson, if you remember back in the day, former safety for the Noles, he's not a head coach at Miami Central, but at the same time, it's still Alabama. And that just shows you how things do not change all the time when it comes to recruiting. You're going to have different days of the week where guys just come in and impress a kid. They can at least get an official visit out of them. And it is Alabama. But that I'm just using them as an example. There are other schools too, like with Maycock, Penn State, and Miami are definitely going to be players in his recruitment. And I get it. He's a really talented linebacker. Does Florida State have a chance? I think they do to keep it from happening. Just because they have it lined up now doesn't mean that it won't change. This is recruiting in 2025 after all. But Florida State, they're going to have to battle for some of these kids. The good news about it is if schools like Alabama, Miami, Penn State want a kid that has an offer from you and is committed, that means that you're recruiting the right players. That being the case, this is recruiting in South Florida. Very few of those young men commit and just stick with that and don't take visits. It's rare. There are a few exceptions, but it is rare. So I think Florida State's going to be battling for those guys and probably a few others because they're in on quite a few South Florida prospects. We'll see how that goes. I also saw Zavier Pay this past weekend from Jones High School in Orlando. He looked better than the last time I saw him, and he looks like he's changed his body some. He's putting in the work, and the official visit list is kind of indicative of that. Penn State, Georgia, etc. Even though he's committed to Florida State, he's going to take visits too. That's an interesting prospect. I think he's going to play guard at the college level, but he has gotten a lot better just in the last month or so, changing his body, putting in the work. I'm going to be curious to see what Florida State does to keep him in the class. He could be a stalwart at guard at some point in his Florida State career. Can't teach 6'6", 315, 320 pounds. So that's a starting point within itself. In Florida State, quite frankly, they just need offensive linemen in this class. 4, preferably 5, would be the target number if you're asking me. He would be also a great get because Jones High School is one of the best programs, not only in Florida, Orlando, etc., but that's one of the programs that just flat out produces the most Division I prospects. They've got a lot of really good football players coming out of there. I will be curious to see how many kids from the Orlando area Gus can bring with him up to Tallahassee. Now, he obviously knows all the coaches there, and so some of the other guys like Tim Harris Jr., et cetera. They're going to be fine recruiting Florida, but it helps to get the Orlando guys when you've got coaches that were in the Orlando area for multiple years coaching at UCF. So that's kind of nice. Last piece here before this show gets wrapped up, and I'm going to try to get back on a normal schedule on Tuesday. Florida State, again, as I noted early in the show, you're getting ready to go into March. Pay very, very close attention to the visits for Florida State getting lined up and then going into spring ball. The kids that come the first week of March, and this is for any school, but the first week of March, maybe the first 10 days, anywhere in there for spring ball, those will be the kids more than likely, especially the local kids, that you're going to have a great shot at. There might be a few kids, California, Illinois, New Jersey, whatever, that come for unofficial visits, and that's great. But the local kids, they could go anywhere they wanted because they can drive. If they pick your school over UF, South Carolina, Georgia, Miami, whatever it is, that's a sign that they are very high on you, and probably vice versa, or Florida State wouldn't have them on campus. The next 2 to 3 weeks will be massive for Florida State recruiting. They have to do well, and they've been doing well, but this is going to be a really important time. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles with me as I travel through Florida, go to these Under Armour camps and see some other coaches. I'll be doing more recruiting updates later this week. Also going to get back into some of the spring practice stuff we got getting ready to get started. Talk some quarterbacks, some running back, some of the situations there, because Florida State, while they have a lot of options, there's still some things they got to get fixed on the offense, or it's not going to work. We're going to talk about the totality of the players working together. That's going to be coming up this week on Locked On Seminoles. Everybody have a good one and take care.